Zabit Magomedsharipov. Holy shit.
Zabit Magomedsharipov. I'm close.
77 years ago.
Few prospects have entered the UFC in recent years with a level of buzz that is comparable to that of the number 2 ranked featherweight contender Zabit Magomedsharipov. As one of the more recent entries into the ongoing Dagestani surge through the sport of mixed martial arts, if this lanky Abraham Lincoln lookalike didn't catch your eye at first due to his appearance, one snippet of his fighting style would suffice to make you a fan. Zabit is rangy, dynamic, and completely unpredictable inside the cage. We've seen strikers in the past, and especially in recent history, who bring a similar level of flair to the table. Those long, lean athletes who, more often than not, choose the path of recklessness when the opportunity presents itself. I remember watching live as Zabit leapt off the side of the cage in his UFC debut against Mike Santiago back in 2017, paying respect to the famed Showtime kick made famous by Anthony Pettis years before. That sequence right there showed me a lot about this then unproven talent. In a moment where Magomedsharipov found himself pressed up against the fence by his opponent before leveraging his way into a dominant position, and then catching his man with a sneaky counter uppercut as he stood with his back to the fence. Circling outwards, Zabit then began to offload one of the most ridiculous looking sequences you'll ever see that culminated with a slightly mistimed, or maybe even slightly ill-advised, jumping kick off the cage. But he tried it. And he tried it less than 2 minutes into his UFC debut. That says a lot about this man's character as a fighter. So naturally, watching this guy fight, my first instinct was to peg him as a striker. But of course, as we all know, Zabit's background as a freestyle wrestler within that famous Dagestan scene shines through in his fighting style in more ways than one. Above all else though, it was his use of leverage in the clinch that really made him stand out to me, a skill that he would further refine in his pursuit of the featherweight belt. From where I'm standing, Zabit is a prime example of a new tech mixed martial artist. Some fighters come in as specialists, some come in well-rounded. But in recent years, there has been a wave of athletes entering the sport who have streamlined each and every requirement of the multifaceted MMA game in their training, finding a balanced but uniquely original fighting style that ticks nearly all required boxes. Zabit strikes at a high level, both in terms of his technique and the wide range of tools in his arsenal. He wrestles both offensively and defensively to a high level. His clinch work is on point. He's aggressive with throws and can jump on submissions from even a standing position. When the fight does hit the mat, he has powerful top control and long limbs to use to his advantage from the bottom. He is also the owner of a very dangerous collection of submissions, the route to victory that has accounted for more of his wins than anything else. An incredible story relating to Zabit Magomedsharipov came at UFC 228, where Zabit had been scheduled to take on Brandon Davis on the night's main card. A few fights prior to that though, bantamweight contender Aljamain Sterling managed to wow the crowd with a successful application of the Sulawev stretch submission, making it only the second time that it had been successfully pulled off inside the octagon. Seeing this backstage, Zabit with his team decided that he would one-up the Funk Master and went out there and pulled off the exact same submission himself. If that doesn't tell you a lot about this man as a fighter and as a competitor, I don't know what else will. For such a wiry frame, he possesses quite a lot of strength.
Zabit is thin, but he's got muscle on him. Like,
Yes.
he's kind of jacked. Like when you look at him,
He's got like a perfect frame. He's
Yeah,
almost like
he's awesome.
a little tiny Luke Rockhold in a lot of ways.
But above all else, it is the manner in which he uses his physical attributes to maneuver his opponents up close that really stands out to me. With an excellent chin and a superb sense of distance management, it seems as though Zabit is the perfect fighter, right? Well, his one glaring weakness has become more and more evident as his career has gone on. Cardio-wise, Zabit Magomedsharipov does leave a lot to be desired. We saw it perhaps most noticeably in his most recent outing against Calvin Kattar, and before that in his thrilling showdown with Kyle Bochniak. Zabit starts to fade in the later rounds. Is it a consequence of his heavy emphasis on movement and dynamic striking, or a genetic consequence of his fast twitch muscle fiber? Your guess is just about as good as mine, but I would be surprised if it wasn't a mix of the two. You just cannot have it all in this game. And while Zabit has found a way to fight through this Achilles heel on his way to success, it is a known weakness now, and trust me, the likes of Max Holloway and the champion Alexander Volkanovski will no doubt fancy their chances as a pair of fighters who love a pressure-intensive game built on attrition. Would a greater emphasis on cardio management steal away from the very thing that makes Zabit Zabit? Fighters like Yoel Romero, who opted to change their style completely due to the undesirable cost that would come from losing that explosive edge, were able to maintain that special something that set them apart, albeit with a few minor tweaks. At featherweight, where the elite of the elite generally strike at a high volume, it will be very, very interesting to see how Magomedsharipov does with a top 5 test. Look at the former champion Jose Aldo, a man who was once described by Dana White as the greatest 2-round fighter in the history of the sport. As a man known for his cardio problems, Aldo, as he aged, adopted a style that was built on point fighting, round management, and cardio control. And as we all know, he had a long and prosperous reign at the top of the 145-pound pile. Now Zabit is not Aldo, and in many ways he faces a more difficult batch of featherweights to contend with than the Brazilian champion ever did, both in terms of their physical attributes and overall technical skill given the advancement of the game. Who knows, perhaps a move to 155 pounds in the future may solve this glaring problem for Zabit, but for now let's speak about his 145 pound future. If I had to guess, I think Zabit, as he reaches the top of the featherweight mountain, will begin to fight at a slower, more technical pace, forsaking the recklessness of his early days in favour of an approach that minimises championship round struggles. Zabit is a smart guy. One look at his fighting style will tell you all you need to know about this man's aptitude for the sport and its finer details. The famed coach Mark Henry once spoke of Zabit, saying he was among the greatest fighters he had ever seen, calling him the successor to his past star pupil Frankie Edgar in terms of his hopes for him. He professed him to be a better fighter in every sense of the word, and based on what we've seen so far, I do believe that we could be looking at a future pound-for-pound number 1. He has work to do not get me wrong, and his glaring weakness is now out there for the world to see and his competition to make note of. But let's not underestimate this special athlete just yet. I have a lot of faith in this guy's chances of being a great one. If you enjoyed today's content and would like to stay up to date with our latest uploads, be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. And as always, thank you for watching.